I do think it's brave to stand up against Nazism. I agree 100% uncritically right there.
This is the left-wing partisan view.
Okay, who wants to talk about cancel culture? Who doesn't love hearing about that topic? I got made aware, I guess, of a channel called the Archcast or Archcast, whatever, I don't care. And I don't really know much about this dude, but I know there is a video he put out titled Right-Wing Cancel Culture Good. And I, being someone on the left side of the politics dynamic, will probably have some things to say. So, without too much of a preamble, I mean, I guess I'll lay out that I don't really know how I particularly feel about quote-unquote cancel culture. I will say that getting canceled is not necessarily just being called out for bigoted behavior. I think, does the video title mean canceling right-wing people is good, or it's good when right-wing people do it? Weird title. Well, when I scroll down and check the description, it has chapters, and one of them is the crusade against gay, and another one is free speech absolutism. So, as a gay free speech person, I'm probably going to have some things to say. But largely, when I refer to canceling people, I use it in a term or in a context where somebody has built up a public image of themselves and then reveal later to be not that public image. Therefore, their community that they've built up will distance themselves from the person that created that community. Like when I covered that VTuber who was called out for transphobia. The dude promoted himself as a ally to queer people in general, and one of us as well, I think he was Pan. I can't remember. Yeah, so like that's how I personally use canceling, but there's a lot of people that will just use it for the hate mob kind of stuff. And I really get the vibe from this guy that that's the kind of defense we're going to be hearing about cancel culture. Plus, I don't hear a lot of people on the left unironically talk about it, calling it cancel culture. I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen out there, but I just don't see it a lot. Most of the time when I hear people complaining about cancel culture, they're on the right. Anyways, it's time for a video.
Provocative title, you say? Why, yes, that is exactly what I was going for. As slightly hyperbolic...
So, respect where it's due. I do this too. I make hyperbolic titles and thumbnails in order to get angry clicks from people I don't like. Mostly right-wingers. I like pissing them off because it really pushes my videos to the algorithm.
Though it may be, there is a valuable argument and point to be made here, as quite a bit of mainstream media alleges that Claudine Gay being dethroned from the position of president at Harvard is an example of right-wing cancel culture. And yes it is. The progressives have taught us very well, and now it is time for you to be afraid. Because right-wing cancel culture is a good thing. It is.
So, does anybody have the context for the Claudine Gay thing? I don't know who that is.
As the progressives might call it, oh, what was that endearing term again? Ah, yes, consequence culture. But beyond the
Okay, so I do hope you're going to elaborate about what consequence or what action caused the consequences for Claudine here. Please explain.
the mocking Schadenfreude, there is a point here to be made. See, back in the day, I've been around long enough to remember this, one of the leading arguments from, well, my side of the internet was, do not use these destructive tactics. Do not use these inherently bad tactics, regardless of the target, because if you do, there will come a day when they are used against you. And the left?
Yeah. Hold people accountable. If they're going to do something that is contrary to the position or to the public image that they hold themselves up to, call them out on that. Or if they're doing something, or if they're deliberately lying about stuff, call them out on that. If they're exhibiting abusive behaviors, call them out on that. This applies to me too. I'm not above it. Hashtag me too.
Laughed. No, no, no. This will never happen. We are correct. We are on the right side of history.
We are correct. We are on the correct side of history. Time has shown it over and over.
People will understand our terror tactics. Our French Revolution will be lauded by the masses, and there is no point at which we ourselves will find our necks in little, wooden blocks staring down into a paper basket.
For me, it was about a month, 2 months ago.
Well,
last time, anyways.
Turns out that the day of the basket has indeed arrived, and the cancellation of Claudine Gay is particularly important because the modern-day progressive movement emerged largely from academia, and the fact that this has now reached so deep back into academia as to dethrone a sitting president of Harvard is extraordinarily indicative of just how weak the progressive position has become.
Holy fuck, this dude's playing it up. Wait, I think I do kind of remember the Claudine Gay thing. Wasn't that like an accusation of plagiarism or something? He reminds you of Spiffing Brit, except Spiffing Brit is cool. I'm pretty sure I've heard of Spiffing Brit. But yeah, this is one of the kinds of people that'll play off of I'm gonna go with Westerners' perception of British people, where a lot of our influence, excuse me, has come from, I'm just going to name him directly, David Attenborough, where a lot of people have watched the documentaries he's narrated, and they just kind of associate knowledge bearer with that accent, and then people like this or Sargon of Akkad play off of that and then push really, 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 really dumb shit.
As Claudine Gay, make no mistake, was hired primarily due to her shade rather than her numerous academic achievements.
Citation needed.
Well, that and her blatant refusal to say that, yes, you should indeed not allow people to call for the genocide of Jews on Harvard campuses.
What? Oh, is this about Israel-Palestine? I don't know. Free Palestine.
Oh, the left is taking up the position of free speech absolutism now, is it?
What did he even just say? Something about the Holocaust. You know what? Play that back. Give it another 10 seconds.
Academic achievements. Well, that and her blatant refusal to say that, yes, you should indeed not allow people to call for the genocide of Jews on Harvard campuses.
when did this come out? Oh, like a couple weeks ago. So yeah, this is probably I'm willing to bet something like there were pro-Palestinian protests on Harvard campuses, and he's using the argument that if you're pro-Palestinian, therefore you are anti-Israel, therefore you are anti-Jewish, which personally I think is an anti-Semitic mindset.
Oh, the left is taking up the position of free speech absolutism now, is it?
Yeah, you're free to say whatever the fuck you want. Not free of consequences.
Oh, do not even try that. Oh, God, help me. Oh, heavens help me indeed. Ooh, and I do love, by the way, that we are now calling this the culture war. Mainstream and progressivist media have come to calling it the culture war now. Why? Because
it's been called the culture, or the culture war has been invoked and talked about regularly for decades now, as far as I'm aware. And guess what? All the culture war shit actually tends to come from the right.
back in the day, it wasn't a culture war. It was, as mentioned, consequence culture. It was merely an execution. But now that the opposition have taken to firing back, well, now it's a conflict. How dare they? How dare they indeed. As I want to read out a couple of paragraphs of this article in particular here. The larger lessons of Gay's departure, though, should give pause to anyone who still harbors fond reveries that intellectual inquiry should not follow basic dictates of party agitprop. See, it's always been that. Or at the very least, in modern history it has. Again, the left wing of today came from academia. Your party agitprop was the very core fundamental foundation of modern day academia. You're only annoyed now because it's the other side's.
This guy is so mad that... Okay, so I did mistake the crusade against gay for being homophobic. I didn't know it was a person named Gay, but this guy is so mad that turns out science agrees with people on the left. Not really the people on the right. You know, the people that say, like, there are two genders or there are two sexes, whatever. They conflate them both all the time. Yeah, they might have heard of basic biology, but they didn't stick around for advanced biology, where we go into the bimodal distribution of chromosomal and hormonal abnormalities that actually vary the human body. It's a lot more than two.
Agitprop that it's reaching back into academia and saying, no, stop indoctrinating kids, you goddamn crazy communist bastards. For all the right-wing agita over school.
So, like, don't do the patriotic education that Trump was pushing? I'll agree with that one, but I'm pretty sure that's not what you were actually arguing for. This dude seems to want no progressive thought pushed to kids at all, when really kids should just be kids. Let them be free to figure out themselves.
Scholarly standards and the neglected mandate of viewpoint diversity. The
Linguistic? I am not sure who that is. Huh. I do like watching video essays and like commentary content, so maybe I have seen it and just don't remember, but I don't know. Like, the gender isn't even a biological thing, it's semantic or something, I forget. With gender, it's like socially prescribed. Basically, it's the roles associated with sexual characteristics. Like how men are expected to be strong because they have more testosterone, bigger muscles kind of thing. Women are expected to be the caretakers because they birth the kids. That kind of thinking. When sex is your physical biological makeup, it actually varies quite a bit. Typically, when people are saying man and woman, they're actually referring to the gender categories and not the sexual categories. That's why we have male, female, man, woman.
The crusade against gay, like the one preceding it at Pennon, was a raw ideological putsch. Well, in part, yes. Now, a large part as well was the fact that Gay was a particularly easy target, as again, her intellectual and academic background was lacking at best, certainly for somebody being in the position of president of Harvard. Her
Citation needed? Or are you just going to keep saying stuff? I mean, I guess I just say stuff too on YouTube.
Ability to answer even the most simplistic of moral questions also further hampered her. Manhattan Institute fellow Christopher Rufo, who first publicized the gay plagiarism charges, laid out the whole MO from the upset in 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so there was a plagiarism charge. And obviously this guy's not going to go through the entire article.
We launched the Claudine Gay plagiarism story from the right. The next step is to smuggle it into media apparatus of the left, legitimizing the narrative to center-left actors who have the power to topple her, then squeeze. Correct.
So he literally just admitted this is from the right. Or I mean, that is what the video is about. And how they had to frame it in a way for it to be digestible to left-wing audiences so that the people who actually care about things like plagiarism would actually take notice of it. Because let's face it, people on the right tend to not give a shit about like plagiarism or taking advantage of people, but they love to call out when the left does it.
And the beauty of this is, I'll show you back to the previous point. Do not use these weapons, for they will be turned upon you. How did they do this? They, in their own words apparently, smuggled it into the media apparatus of the left. You know, the whole enormous grinding machine you've constructed to destroy people, to crash.
That's an interesting way to say push for civil rights.
Them, to remove them from the internet, to remove them from modern day living, to get them removed from social media platforms.
But why? You're going into all this stuff, but why do people want others removed? Over a case of plagiarism, yeah, I can see people on the left wanting that stuff removed. Is that a bad thing? Like, I thought we were all in agreement. Plagiarism, bad.
Forms to get them removed from virtually every way of reaching out to an audience, to get them removed from their jobs. That apparatus, that is the machine we were referring to. That was the weapon you should not unsheathe. And now,
here's the thing, it's not really like something you can always 100% dedicatedly direct at people. You can sometimes, in cases like this, actually get people to take notice of whatever the hell you're complaining about. But largely, the left is just an amalgamation of people on the internet. And the online left is a community of sorts, a group of people that, I'm gonna be real, spend too much time on the internet. And that leads to people thinking sometimes shit's okay to do. I don't agree with it all the time, but I mean, if people are to do bad stuff, I think they should be called out. What's the big deal? What the counter argument so far has been, I'll get called out too? Cool, call me out. If you think I'm doing something malicious, or if you get some kind of impression like that, or whatever, make your voice heard. I listen.
your opposition is looking at it and thinking, man, that's awfully effective, isn't it? What if we could use that? Wait, we can? Well... I'm going to take this as face value here. They've said this and they did this, and I'll applaud it as well. The urgency of this mandate was...
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of being on the internet far too much, too. It's not like it's inherently a bad thing, but I mean, it is important to have social connections offline, like off of the internet. And yeah, this guy is just happy to say that, well, he's cool with psyops. Woo! What a great dunk.
Was clear in the
Show
right
me.
ready abandonment of his earlier postures of free speech absolutism. Well, here's the thing. Free speech absolutism, if we take it to its logical conclusion, is obviously incorrect, since we need to have stuff like libel laws. But what we're saying with free speech absolutism in large is that you should be allowed to say anything you want to say, so long as it isn't illegal. And there should be very, 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 very few laws against what it is legal to say. Agitation.
Largely, I do personally agree with this. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of, let's just call it hate speech, but I do think it gets into a very legally gray area to try and make that illegal. Personally, I don't think it should be legislatively enforced. I think it should just be socially enforced. Call them cringe and stop talking to them if they're going to deliberately engage with that type of, or if they're going to deliberately engage in a type of free speech you don't particularly like. You have the power to curate your friends, if you didn't know that.
For outright violence, stuff like that. Everything else should be largely fine. And again, free speech absolutism. That's the thing. These aren't the right wing's standards. You are not being cancelled by the right wing's standards.
I definitely agree that the right wing doesn't actually like free speech.
You are being cancelled by the left wing's standards. This is your apparatus. This is your rule set. This is your...
You have said a bad opinion. You have been given the punishment of cringe. Yes, exactly that.
Playground that is being used against you. You cannot look to your opposition and go, oh, hold on there, what about your principles, when they're using your bat to beat you over the head with? They are making a point. That is literally...
What? I need to rehear that.
This is your playground that is being used against you. You cannot look to your opposition and go, oh, hold on there, what about your principles, when they're using your bat to beat you over the head with? They are making a point.
I'm just going to go with the understanding that this dude doesn't actually have particular principles. He just likes it when people who seemingly morally grandstand get taken down a peg.
That is literally what this is. Now, there is absolutely the potential for right-wing cancel culture to go too far and become simply just another form of mainstream cancel culture. It is entirely possible. The right...
Oh, so it's totally possible for a right-wing cancellation to turn into full-on harassment? Fun fact, that happens on the internet broadly. It's not just what the left and the right do to each other or themselves.
Is no more immune to this than the left inherently. But right now, this is cancel culture of the left being wielded by the right. And you have no room whatsoever to complain about it.
I mean, I can still criticize that you guys don't actually seem to really care about the plagiarism part. The thing that people are calling bad, you have just been explaining that you don't like people. And you don't care why particular. It just happens to be plagiarism in this case. I just haven't seen a real case of why it was a good thing that she did that. But I guess this guy's overall argument is that you just shouldn't use any sort of cancel culture. You shouldn't hold people accountable for the bad stuff they're doing, which is a screaming red flag to me. I don't know about you guys, chat. In fact, this is Warhammer lore guy who was told by Games Workshop to get the fuck out for being racist. I have no idea about that. I did. Oh, in my Warhammer video, I did actually get recommended a YouTuber who had covered the different Warhammer controversies and actually, yeah, covered a Nazi, like an actual Nazi getting kicked out of a Games Workshop event. So I'm actually going to go through that sometime off stream. I actually really want to look into that.
Recursive war on campus wokeness. Suddenly, the Timnos replies that the university's head tendered and Stefanik's badgering were ticketed to meet with real-world consequences, just as the left partisans in the culture war had long said they should. Exactly yet again. You have championed a set of standards. You have argued for the creation of a rule set that...
For clarity, the rule set and standards that I hold everybody up to are don't be a cunt. Is that so bad? If you want me to break it down a bit more, I will say once again, abusive behavior, harassment, inciting stuff is not very good. You probably shouldn't do it. And if you are going to actively engage with that, I do think the people around you should point that out. I do think that should be done publicly. How horrible of me.
Will condemn people for their positions, or even for their refusal to take a position. Like,
That's true. I do hate Nazis and the people who let Nazis do the things that Nazis do. Like the Holocaust. I'm pretty sure we all agree that one was bad, right?
A wonderful recent example. Oh, there's two. Hell, let's take Hogwarts Legacy, right? So,
Ah, for fuck's sakes. Yay, back over to this discourse.
J.K. Rowling's position is that women means adult human female. Simple as. For that, she has become the Satan of the left, and Hogwarts...
It was a bit more than that, but yeah, sure.
Legacy became one of the greatest beacons of right-wingism ever. Because with the release of Hogwarts Legacy, it shone an enormous light upon the most screechingly absurdist behavior of the modern-day progressivist movement we have ever seen. It brought it to the fore in one of the largest modern-day franchises that a lot of younger people were into. And
yeah, I'm gonna actually have to say I agree with him on this point. It was such a dumb idea to try and boycott the fucking worldwide franchise of Harry Potter. It went trending on months before. It was trending on Twitter for months before it came out. Tons of people were hearing about it. There was a handful of people that didn't actually engage with it. And then there was a lot of people who were like, oh, the libs are mad at this game, let's check it out. And then they dropped it no more than a month later. I mean, when it came out, it was like the most watched game on Twitch, if I'm remembering correctly. And then a month after, it was dead. Like, nobody was watching it after that. They just wanted to piss off the transes, if you will.
it illuminated the madness to them. Hogwarts Legacy has unironically done more for the conservative culture war than most of YouTube combined. Even if the one would not...
I mean, I am aware of Gamergate, so...
exist without the other, of course. Or even more recently, literally today, I think. So Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie became public property, right? And people...
Oh, fuck. Is he going to talk about the Nazi callouts of Steamboat Willie game? Of Infestation Origins? At least I covered it, so I know what he's talking about here.
People immediately started doing shit on it. One of them was a horror movie called, what was it? Something 88. I'll probably try to bring it up.
Infestation 88 was the game. I think it was Mouse was the movie, or Mouse was another game. There is horror movies getting made, but he's talking about the game that was called Infestation 88. Infestation 88 has since been rebranded to Infestation Origins after Twitter called them out for using Nazi dog whistling.
Screen here, where they wanted to have Mickey Mouse Infestation, that was it, and it was set in the year 1988.
You're welcome.
88, thus the name. However, the progressives looked at two letters, 8 and 8, and thought to themselves, Nazis. Oh yes, I'm sure that was the intent. And they screeched extraordinarily.
Yeah, so to anybody that doesn't know what a Nazi dog whistle is, it's a or a dog whistle in general is, it's a seemingly innocuous phrase that actually subtly pushes a political agenda. In this case, 88 is short for 1488, which is commonly posted in Nazi circles. 14 being the 14 words of fascism, and 88 being H8, or the 8 is eighth, the 8th letter of the alphabet is H, which together HH stands for Heil Hitler. It is convoluted specifically so that the left looks deranged, calling it Nazi stuff, when that's a lot of the time what people deliberately do when they say 1488.
Ordinarily loudly, up until the point where the edgy boys making the Mickey Mouse horror thing, because like, oh, this is really something, man, we're sticking it to those corporate bastards by doing this. What? You're threatening to cancel us? Okay, we'll immediately submit to the modern day fascists to berate the fascists of 60 years ago. Stunning and brave.
I do think it's brave to stand up against Nazism. I agree 100% uncritically right there.
This is the left-wing partisan view that is now being used fully against the left. This is why right-wing cancel culture for...
that was just a little bit about a game called Infestation 88. I do have a video going over the callouts of it. Personally, I don't think it was very warranted. I don't think it should have gotten too much attention, but it went pretty big. Look for the scary looking Mickey thumbnail in my videos.
For the moment, at least, is good. Because this is, and I've argued this for years now, the only...
Wait. You just said culture... Cancel culture for the moment is good?
Why right-wing cancel culture, for the moment at least, is good. Because...
Okay, so you're going to open the video by saying how this isn't a tool you should be using at all, but right now it's a good tool for us to use. Neat. That's definitely not hypocritical on your end.
Because this is, and I've argued this for years now, the only...
I see, I was about to say Disney beat everyone to the horror Mickey punch them out. Wait, what? They did? Like, they did their own horror thing? As I was reading that, I thought... I thought you were going to reference, like, the old Nazi Disney cartoons. Disney beat everyone to the horror Mickey Nazi accusations.
The only way the progressives will ever learn their lesson, as they have demonstrated again and again, is if their faces are held to the fire for an extended period of time. So long as there was no consequences for their actions, so long as unveiling the arsenal and firing it at their foe did not come back at them, they mercilessly continued. When this was merely a...
Okay, so I will say this. I don't know much of anything about the Claudine Gay plagiarism shit. I do think it's pretty good to oust a president of a prestigious university if they did plagiarize. So I don't really see the problem, because like largely plagiarism isn't that high on the give a shit factor. It counts a lot more when it's people running schooling, like academia, That's where it counts way, 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 way more. So, yeah. Hold bad people to account for for bad things they do. Or, not bad people. Hold people to account for the bad things they do. Why is that such a problem unless you don't want people holding you to account for the bad stuff you know you've done?
Conflict of one-sided executions, there was no brakes to the cancel culture train. You could be cancelled for the clothing you wore.
Or misphrasing on stream.
Never mind the shit you actually said. When they were unopposed, they committed the worst...
Wait, cancelled for the clothing you wore. I wonder, is he mad that you're not allowed to wear Nazi armbands, like swastika armbands? I don't think it's illegal to wear them, but people will just call you a Nazi if you wear a swastika armband. I think that's a reasonable response if somebody wants to wear that.
Forms of authoritarian overreach you can imagine. Only by a...
How is... Man... How is it authoritarian when it's the mob and not one? Or not like a select group at the top controlling it all? Freedom of speech protects you from the law, not me energy. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I go with. Like, I don't care what people want to say. I don't care what gamer language they want to use. But if they use it around me, I'm going to call them on their shit. Mostly, unless I don't want to get in an argument, like with my boss.
Opposing them and hitting them repeatedly and violently over the head with the tools of their own making, will we have any point whatsoever of having them look at this weapon and go, wow, that does hurt. I don't want that to be used against me, because pure, unadulterated selfishness seems to be the only key, core, unifying feature of progressivism. And thus, right?
What?
Selfishness seems to be the...
Because pure, unadulterated selfishness seemed to be
the only key, core, unifying feature of progressivism.
How? How did you demonstrate that selfishness is one of the core pieces of progressivism? Progressivism is about helping as many people as possibly can live dignified lives, right? I mean, that's why I subscribe to it.
And thus, right-wing cancel culture. Good. I'll tell you.
No. Okay. Nice memes. That guy... I took a little psychic damage from that, not gonna lie. I don't know, maybe I'll cover more of his videos in the future. See if other stuff catches my eye. But yeah, largely I think it's okay to hold people to account for the stuff they do. If somebody is going, again, for the last time, if somebody is going to be abusive or engage in actively malicious behavior that harms others, that should be called out. I don't think anybody should be above that. I think Biden should be investigated just like Trump. Thanks for watching. Like it if you like it, dislike if you didn't. Let me know in the comments why you think I'm wrong. Check out the community on Discord. And remember, if you can't be the sharpest tool in the shed, you can always be the hoe. Just want to take a quick second and thank my beeps who have joined the channel. So thank you to Joestar and Maxi Kitty.